This week on This American Dice, the new magistrates start to meet the players in the city of lies. Can they withstand the corruption of a city that killed its last magistrate? Can honor stand up to intrigue? Find out today on This American Dice.
We see a city on a lush river surrounded by miles of red poppies. Immediately around the city are green limestone walls, and the camera swoops down to a road headed to the city, and on it is a group of traveling monks. The monks are met by peasants who offer them the meager alms they can in exchange for prayers. Ahead of the monks, the camera flies towards Ryoko Owari Toshi, over its green walls and into the noble quarter. Standing out among the beautiful, well-maintained, and for the most part traditional Japanese-style homes and buildings are the Shosuro Palace, an imposing fortress at the top of which is an elegant traditional Rokugani palace, as well as the magistrate's residence, a single-story building constructed around a garden, the prize of which is a beautiful tree covered in red flowers. Finally, we pass the large minareted Ide residence, that is the home of some very influential unicorn clan leaders. We pass over the north wall of the noble quarter and head into the temple quarter, where we see the temple of Amaterasu, the sun goddess, with its golden shining sun sphere atop a 70-foot pole. We also see the temple of Daikoku, the fortune of wealth, with its more stepped architecture and of course the more than 20-foot tall golden statue of Daikoku himself. The camera turns to the west and we move to the merchant. The streets clogged with vendors and customers selling and buying all manner of things. Then we zip past crowded intersections to a dock from which porters are loading and unloading goods from a boat, and soon follow another small craft across the Bay of Drowned Honor to the fisherman's quarter. As its name suggests, we see plenty of small fishing boats being unloaded at the docks, but here the streets are much dirtier and the buildings much more run down. A group of neighborhood toughs confronts another group of men in front of a sake house as a quarrel, and then a fist fight breaks out. The camera continues south as we quickly pass over the flat and generally featureless leatherworkers' quarter. The only item to notice is the crematorium, which belches forth thick black smoke. With a swift motion, the camera pans southeast to see a gondola-esque craft ferrying a man in a basket hat to a lantern-lit island. We approach the license quarter, Teardrop Island, home of sake and geisha houses, which seems far more calm than any of the other areas of the city in its soft, white glow of twilight that it's created by the hanging lanterns. We see a man in a basket hat approach an open door as he's beckoned in by a beautiful geisha, and once inside, he removes his basket hat, and we see that it was the monk from the beginning. Closing the door, the geisha looks at the camera and mouths, "Secrets." Executive producer, Jessica HBO. Let's meet our players and characters again.
Okay, I'm Brandon, and I play Ishii.
I'm Andrew, I'm playing Yugure.
Tuan, I'm playing Kakita Aji.
I'm David, playing Bayushi Taiyo.
I'm Austin, I'll be playing the scenery.
When last we joined our new magistrates, they had received their positions. Asako Anjo, who had collected a dossier, informed them that not only do they have this position, he gave them the dossier, and he informed them that the four of them have been chosen for this position after Ashidaka Naritokai, I should really say Kakita Naritokai, as that's the larger family that will know, was murdered. So, here's
carriage.
All right, here's what I would like each of you to do. All right, think up a question you have for me that you might have been able to get out of this dossier / as you were wandering about the city. All right, and then I want you to make a sagacious roll. Go ahead and ask me the question, then make the roll, and I'll give you an answer based on that. And ideally, a lot of it's going to be coming out of here.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it's going to be in there. But like maybe because there's a lot of stuff about things that are in the city.
Absolutely.
Who would have, like, what places make really strong acids that, like, the kind that was thrown into the guy's eyes?
Ooh, places make really strong acids.
Like, what kind of, like, companies use that? Businesses,
Sure.
You know, that kind of thing.
Wait,
The book said it was vinegar.
Yeah, but it was, like, really concentrated vinegar. Not, like, normal household, like, oh, I'm cooking with this vinegar. Like, really heavy stuff.
and that was thrown into the magistrate's eyes?
It was thrown into his bodyguard's eyes so he couldn't read his scrolls. It was magic. And they must have gotten it from somewhere. And this isn't like normal stuff. All right. Roll.
You knocked that out of the park.
That's a 12.
12. All right. So
Barely.
you kind of ask enough people around about this, and once it's like, oh, not a vinegar that you would cook with. People talk about other chemicals that are kind of like that, or substances that are like that, and for the most part you get that it would be something, it might be something used to make like clothing, textiles, or kind of like treat fabrics or hides, or some kind of like solvent type agent for metal, like something to, not at all something you would cook with, something that would treat some kind of material.
It's like textiles and how they're working and that kind of stuff.
So I'm not sure exactly how you get that info from folks.
Who knows?
But you maybe ask around to like some merchants.
Is there a history of fire-related crimes, or is there like accelerants?
Sure.
I got an 8.
Not bad. Ryoko Owari, has various volunteer firefighter brigades, and as you try to like ask around about like arson related crimes and try to get more information related to chemicals, I think you find out more about these firemen, and that the firemen were initially started as a cost cutting way for the governor to save money, to have just volunteer groups. And the governor expected that there would be a certain amount of like almost tipping to firefighters. And the firefighters instead pretty quickly associated with and then became synonymous with street gangs. And so in this city, as you learn it, the more you keep asking around about fires, you're finding less kind of like chemical knowledge and like chemical information, and more about like, oh, in this town there are firemen, and while firemen are responsible for putting out fires, firemen is also synonymous with street gang.
Is it like you don't pay your protection money and your building gets lit on fire?
It seems to be in the most benign aspect of things, that if you weren't to perhaps pay these firemen or at least treat them well, your residence or building or whatever it is might not get protected from a fire if one were to occur. And then from there, you can kind of guess at the, there's probably more to that.
So best case scenario is they will help you.
Yeah, best case scenario is like, oh, you didn't pay your membership fee, or you didn't treat these guys well, you're on their bad terms, they don't help you out. Mm-hmm. However, what you do here is different firefighters, the Kenjinin, have very different approaches to stuff. And so some of them may be more criminally inclined than others.
All right.
Anyone else?
A question: Who would be the most powerful, like vice dealer? Like, would it be like opium or geishas or?
Okay.
Oh, let me roll this too.
Nailed it.
6 total.
All right.
That's close.
So what you're able to figure out is you kind of catch some of the coattails possibly of what he's hearing about these firefighter groups. Ooh, you hear about a guy named Lean Meat. And Lean Meat is a gambler based out of the Fisherman Quarter. And you hear that you're able to hear that, like, that is the place to go, as he has become wildly successful in the last 5 or 6 years.
All right, gambling or firefighting?
So he's a gambler. He's plugged into every shady thing you know of.
Gotcha.
Can imagine. Lean Meat. All right.
Was there any like special city event at the time of Narutoki's death?
Okay.
The city's full of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day seems special. Well, that's 6.
That's a 6. Shit. Okay. So there doesn't seem to be any kind of holiday you can pinpoint this to, or any kind of like festival. You kind of like just look at the calendar and kind of go through, ask people about like local customs and that kind of stuff. And there isn't, as far as you know, any kind of holiday or any kind of importance for that particular day. At the end of our last session, on your first like official kind of night on the job, or on their first official the first official day on the job, your servants arrived with 2 invitations. One was from the Unicorn Clan, and the other was from the Shosuro family. And both of them are for tonight, inviting you to a welcome dinner party.
And the Shosuro was the governor.
Yes, Shosuro Hayabu is the governor. So who I might just at times call the governor.
And the other one was just the Unicorn Clan in general.
So it's just from the Unicorn Clan, and it'll be at their estate. So one will be at the Shosuro Palace, the other would be at the Unicorn Clan.
It's the Agrabah place.
Mm-hmm.
So is this going to be one of those classic movie situations where we've got 2 outfits, we have to change really quick to go back and forth between the parties?
Just one.
It sounds like a read a situation. I know you're making a John Ritter-esque Three's Company joke, but if you want to figure that stuff out, you could read a situation.
Yeah. I'm going to roll these 2 6-sided dice and add a bonus. Cuboids. And which...
Say cute boys?
Which ring do I add?
Sagacious, so air. 9, you say. All right, so you can, to read this situation, choose one of these questions to ask. So the bottom center column.
Which enemy is the biggest threat? In the proverbial sense of enemy.
Is that your question?
If that can apply, like which of these parties is more important, I guess. Does that translate from which enemy is the biggest threat?
Sure. Which of these groups? From what you understand, the Shosuro Hayabu, the governor, is she is the authority in this city. Very directly, her influence is substantial. You look at these 2 things, and the other folks might have a lot of influence. You can tell by the enormous residence that they have, like mansion that they have. It's hard to argue with the hard power that Shosuro Hayabu would have. One of those 2 groups has an army at her disposal. She's the one that does.
And so who was the one that was... I guess the Emerald Champion is the person who gave us like our position here.
So the Emerald Champion, Doji Satsume, is like the equivalent, like I said, like the Attorney General.
And they're the ones who are responsible for replacing the last guy with us.
Right, that's the person who said, "Oh, that dude was killed. I need to replace him. I'm going to pick these 4 people."
So she probably didn't have anything to do with that, theoretically.
With your choice?
Yeah. Or at least officially. She might have, unofficially, but...
Doji Satsume would definitely make that decision. If she, got involved or had some kind of say in that kind of thing, that's a possibility, but he's the one who would make that decision.
Right.
I believe we should honor the invitation of the governor. But perhaps we could pay a visit to the other people who invited us and submit an apology in advance.
There are 4 of us. I don't see why some of us can't attend one and the rest the other. No?
It would be very insulting if all of us didn't go to the governor's residence.
I agree. The benefit of having 4 of us, we can use to our full advantage, is anyone among you that might think you'd be better fit for the Unicorn Clan, he says, looking at the crowd. The giant, uncivilized crab person.
It seems a waste to not get to know as many we can, as much knowledge as we can gain.
I was wondering, since we're just meeting each other yesterday, possibly, what is everyone's strength? We have this perfect dossier on everyone in the city, but as newcomers, we're completely blind to each other, aren't we?
And where are you guys having this meeting? So I'll say that this invitation came to the magistrate residence, but you guys don't have to have this meeting there. You could have this meeting at a sake house. You could have this meeting in the gardens of the city. You could have this meeting in the garden of your own residence, in the meeting room.
I guess I imagined the meeting room, but
Or you could go down to the civil hall.
or wherever.
Text messages?
Guys just writing these messages
Yeah,
down,
we're writing
showing them
them,
to
put
each
them on
other, Wile E.
pigeons.
Coyote style.
We're putting them on pigeons. Come on.
Past have the
Messenger pigeons, carry them throughout the city.
Oh, wait, yeah.
So meeting room.
Yeah, I kind of was in the
meeting room.
I think so.
around this very table.
No text messengers.
No, apparently not.
Oh, and do you think we would have... here's another way to get to know each other. I have both sake and tea, if you... Knowing that we'd meet over these invitations, I had them both prepared. I'm having sake.
Of course, thank you. And I'll sip some tea.
But, so we're going to talk about our strengths and weaknesses.
Well, I share wisdom with the kami. They inform my choices in life and my decisions, and I would be honored to share that wisdom with you as it pertains to our job here.
I understand you're a priest. But, are you then one of the truly blessed Genja that have open conversation with the kami?
Let me check my blessed stat. Yes, I am truly blessed.
Oh, well.
Also, this move I selected, it's called Wisdom of the Kami, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
We're blessed. I'm just large.
Actually, all my moves have the word Kami in the titles.
So, you didn't answer the question.
That's a quote. Do I speak with them directly?
I'm just kidding.
As much as any of us can hope to. I don't know. I actually don't know the setting very well, so I don't know.
You're a priest.
Actually, yeah, no, I read in somewhere in there that you can talk to them, like, straight up, face to face, so yeah, I'll say I do talk to them.
Yes, I've heard of the dragon being quite an enigma before, so this makes sense to me.
Total sense.
I hope you'll be, hopefully it'll be easier to understand your wisdom than the stereotype of your clan would present itself.
Makes sense.
Of course.
And Aji and Ishii, it seems, looking at your daishos, you're both warriors. One of you has a scar, I think I remember.
Both, if I remember. We both gave each other scars, if I remember correctly.
No, I don't have a scar.
What? You should.
I gave you a scar.
Oh, is that what it was? No, I did the same thing. You bear a scar that I gave you.
Oh, I don't see it on my sheet. Sure, we both have scars.
Perfect.
So have you tested yourselves in battle then?
Of course.
Battle?
In open combat on a horrible place.
So then I assume you're one of the unfortunate that were assigned to the wall?
For a time, yes. But now I am here, exploring why people are burning each other in carriages.
That's good. Yeah.
We didn't have to fight in battle.
No, I'm just saying.
Taiyo, what are you so interested? You should know what I'm good at. Does Scorpion do their homework?
Well, no, as I said before, we have this full dossier, but no information on each other.
I'm a trained duelist from my family's school. What are your strengths?
Definitely appreciate that. I was, many noble and virtuous cranes. I've been married into their family. They've been married in mine, I suppose.
Your wife is a crane.
If I were to turn the answer back to myself, I would say that I don't think I have, or I've seen, I know how to use a sword. I would never call myself as esteemed as you two. I've always been more comfortable at Winter Court, if I'm being completely honest. I think I understand maybe why we're all assigned here. All of our strengths seem to outdo each other's weaknesses.
Perhaps that is so. But we must get back to the topic at hand. Are we all four going to go to the governor's mansion? This Shosuro's.
I think that'd be the wisest move.
I feel like I disagree. I think we should split up. It seems I wouldn't want to shame either party, and both have
Considerable power and influence there.
Yeah, not to mention valuable information. Hopefully, to give us. Since there are four of us, I think it's best to split up. I think I would say I might meet with the governor since she's part of my clan. Does anyone else think that they are more astute at the ways of court amongst the three of you?
I'm joining you, but I don't think we should split. Wouldn't the governor want to meet all his or her magistrates?
I think she'll understand.
I think she'll understand if one of us is absent. We'll give the largest...
Someone might take that as an insult.
We'll take the largest group to the governor and have one of us go meet with the unicorn.
That's not a bad idea.
So she has we give more respect to her.
So you're saying a scorpion invite is less important to you than a unicorn invite?
Opposite. Because as a group, we have sent 3 of us to the scorpion, to the governor of the city, and only 1 to the unicorn. We are, in fact, a group of magistrates. We hold the same position. We are no longer separate individuals vying for own causes.
I've stated my case.
Well,
and you? What do you think?
Well, perhaps then the
Agree.
Scorpion clan would most like to see a member of their own, just as my brother's wife frequently had guests from her family.
Well, that does make sense. So then, which one of us should be the one that goes to meet with the unicorn? If I know stereotypes only go so far, but they do, being only recently come from outside, they don't know as much as of the mannerisms of our country that other clans do, and I think that's a stereotype that's also shared with the crab. I don't know how well you conform to your clan stereotypes, but just based on that, you might be the man for the job.
I mean, I am the one who's advocating for it, so that is fine by me, unless anybody else would be better suited.
If you all want to do that, then sure, let the crab guy go to the horse stable.
Well,
Alright. So then the game plan is that we're going to have Ishii is going to alone go to see the unicorn.
yeah.
Alright, well, meanwhile, Aji, Taiyo, and Yugure are all going to go to meet with the Shosuros.
Yeah, basic moves. I want to read a person. I think I know the answer to this, but I think what I'm actually doing, and I just also remembered that I shouldn't be naming the move, is partly in that conversation I was trying to see which of these three I can trust the most.
Okay.
We have tested each other
Let's see
already.
this again.
David.
Scorpion, man, looking for trust.
Taiyo. Yeah.
You'd have to either read a situation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
To read a situation here. The issue is then I would be the one answering the thing.
We can do it in like a meta kind of way, right?
I guess so. Didn't roll that. Another sagacious roll.
Yeah.
The only rolls we made this game.
9.
9, so close. All right. So,
I get an experience.
you guys, I'm going to ask you a question, a yes or no question, to answer, and he finds out the answer to this thing. If you don't want that to go down, I think you can make an elegant roll. So if you don't want to answer that question, you can make an elegant roll.
Oh, if we don't want to answer the question? Mm-hmm. All right.
Wait, what question?
We're going to hear the
You're
question.
going to ask it. Or am I asking or you?
Yeah, so the question is, so as a player, and this is very meta, so as a player, the question is, would he have reason to not trust you?
I don't think my character is very nuanced in that sense. I think there's no reason to indicate you shouldn't take Yugure at face value. So I'm not going to roll. That's my answer.
Okay.
I feel like Taiyo should know already because she's been very, combative early on and, trying to get you to reveal information. And I don't know if that means that you feel threatened by me trying to get information out of you about who you really are or not. Because, I've asked leading questions before. Mm-hmm. So, I guess that's up to you. If my actions so far have been threatening, or because they haven't worked.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to turn it into not a yes or no, but I mean,
Yeah, what do you
I'm just kind of explaining the situation. Do you think Taiyo would feel that? Because otherwise, everything's just out. But I don't know. Other than me trying to poke and prod at who you really are. I'm it's all good. But you definitely get the distinct feeling that I know something's up. So I don't know if that means I'm untrustworthy. But definitely something's not great.
All right. And
That's what I can
Aji.
do.
So if I roll elegant, I don't have to answer the question?
Yeah.
Right, or you can answer it however you'd like. So if you
Probably should roll out and then
and you can still answer it truthfully.
No?
If it helps, I feel like I've already made up my mind about your character.
Yeah.
You have to change your mind.
You have to be open.
It was your idea.
Oh,
Snake eyes.
Snake eyes. You're as easy to read as a clam.
yeah. So
Clam.
What's the choice? Trust or not trustworthy?
Yeah.
So does he have a reason to not trust you?
No. No. I think so.
Okay. All right.
You have no reason not to trust.
No reason to not trust you. What is something Aji wants from Taiyo?
Know what he's planning. Because Scorpions always plan something. They're always scheming.
I think we can kind of move past this scene. I think it's kind of running out of steam a little bit, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So you guys would have the day, essentially, to get ready. This would be kind of the dinner would be in the early evening. So you'd have the day. It's not like a thing that happens immediately. A few things just to note about the world, essentially. Accents. people have the easy breakdown is each clan has an accent. Within each clan, each family has an accent, but the odds are if you're not from that clan or haven't spent a bunch of time with them, you can't tell the difference. So in the same way, and I don't know, did I bring this up before?
I don't think so.
I don't think I did.
Previous games.
Okay, but yeah.
I knew this, but I don't know.
Right, so like you might just hear a southern accent, but not be able to tell it's a Georgia accent versus a South Carolina or Texas accent kind of a thing.
A jar of marmalade.
Yeah, I'm bringing that up because as you guys like speak, like you could probably like have some of that as a Scorpion. So you're kind of more familiar with this. This city is kind of a little bit of a mishmash among the commoners. Mm-hmm. So when you speak to the samurai, their accents are more what you would expect. If you've had reason to go through the merchant quarter at all, their stuff is a little bit more kind of a mishmash. Like it's a little harder to spot like among the commoners. So, but their speech in general is a little more rough anyhow. I want us to take a look at something with Ishii. You've got this invite from the Unicorn Clan. Mm-hmm. Could you make another read a situation roll? Or just a sagacious roll. I might have this be a
so good.
almost a custom thing.
Well, I put 2 in this.
Yep, me too. All right, it's a 10.
It's a 10. That's not bad. All right, so one of the things that you notice on this is, I'll do this as a custom move. And so one of the things that you notice as you go over this is it doesn't have a place to meet. So earlier on, the assumption was just, there obviously is a very huge unicorn mansion. It would probably be there. It doesn't say where to meet. You can kind of suss stuff out as you go. One of the things that you learn is there are 2 different important unicorn leaders in the city. Mm-hmm. One of them is, and I don't have nicknames for these guys yet necessarily, we'll feel... So one of them is Shinjo Yoshifusa, mm-hmm. and the other is Ide Baronado. Mm-hmm. And so those 2 guys are kind of the heads of the Unicorn Clan. I'm trying to figure out where you would get this information from.
The dossier?
Sure, yeah, you just get this from the dossier.
I was just reading it 2 seconds ago. I was like, all right, I'm going to Unicorn. Let me just mouse over
and you did well on that roll, so you could figure out like Shinjo Yoshifusa, who I'm going to call the Old Man.
That works.
Is his nickname? That is his. He is pretty old, and he is the titular head of the Unicorn Clan in Ryoko Owari. The Shinjo family are the head of the Unicorn Clan officially. The Hatamoto is the term. So like the person who is the highest ranking person within the within the city. However, he is very old. And most of the affairs are not run by him at all. And they are actually run by Ide Baronado, who I am going to call the Ambassador, will be his nickname.
Okay.
So because the Ide or the Ide are always, are often like diplomats. You are kind of like looking this over, and the problem you run into is you are not sure of which one of them sent this. Or who it is that you should be, going to who it is you should be going to speak with.
Great.
And if you want, again, since you did very well with that roll, you can have realized that before you part company with these dudes, or not. You can choose to be like, I found this out on my own, or I found this out with these other folks, in case you think these other folks could help you, or in case you'd want to figure this out on your own.
To be honest, I figured it out after we had already decided.
Okay.
I figured out that there's 2 groups.
Sure.
So this is definitely a later thing.
All right. So, but you're like getting ready. Oh, shit.
Shit.
Ready to head on out to, let me check the invitation.
Oh, God.
One of those things where you're like, the party's at her house, right? Hold on. I've done that before.
No idea.
I'll just walk around until I hear the music.
I think that's the kind of pickle you're in.
It's a pretty bad pickle, yeah. I don't know. Granddaddy is so, like, powerless. Maybe the safe bet is just to go to Baronato's house. I'd probably just go to the ambassador's place.
Okay. So,
Ide Baranato.
50-50 shot.
okay. So Ide Baronato is indeed the Ide residence is the huge Agrabah-esque like minareted mansion.
We should. Crab Boy already fucked up, but we should buy like a gift or something. That's a thing that happens in the setting.
Oh, Jesus.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, no.
I got money.
I think the way this system works with wealth is if you just spend one wealth, it's like, oh, that's a thoughtful gift.
Yeah, I think
And
that
you
works.
could just essentially describe what the gift it is that you bring. And so, like, we spent one wealth, or you could spend 3 wealth and have, like, some kind of crazy gift.
What's 3 wealth?
3 wealth.
What specifically kind of gift?
3 wealth gift. An exquisite gift worth 2 favor from the recipient.
Oh, that could be it. Do you guys want to?
Splurge all your wealth together.
I'll put down at least 1 wealth. Do you guys want to pull it? Pull it? I said pull. Don't pull it, please.
I'm going to have a bad time.
Sure.
And you get a gift, right?
Me too.
I don't know. I kind of got my gift planned out. How much does 1 wealth buy?
The dragon is usually penny.
I get 1 wealth per session.
Yeah, so we theoretically, I think we all did that. So we theoretically have 2, right?
I guess we do have jobs.
Is it stack?
No, I think it's just 1 per session. Not like you build up. Because then you have to track it.
I mean, I've been tracking so far. I wrote 2.
I'm fine with you guys doing 2, even though this would be, like, still, like, within the first day, we could say, like, that a certain amount of your salary is given to you as almost as an advance or petty cash.
Sure.
All right. In that case,
And you guys do have very good jobs.
Yeah.
This is true.
I'll throw in my 1.
Okay.
$1 big dollar. But
Because a koku, which is like the big unit of currency that they use, is supposed to be the equivalent of the amount of rice it would take to feed a person for a year.
Jesus.
So it's supposed to be like,
It's like a year's salary for 1 person.
yeah, for like a peasant.
my gift was going to be a handwritten poem that I had created. but in a very fancy box. So if you want to throw out the paper, you'd be like, well, at least there's this box with like jade and emeralds or whatever on it.
Paper also has to be nice.
Nah. But if we're pooling
It's just a piece
to
of
make a
cardboard.
better gift, I still want my poem in there.
Did you read up on her in the dossier?
Who?
The governor?
Yeah,
I just did a little bit.
Who's the governor?
The governor.
It's like the
Yep.
P1.
She's the first person, yeah.
She's the most important person.
E45.
I think her
She's
jam
a
was like,
really great governor, but like she doesn't really care
right.
very much.
She's supposed to be feared.
Yeah.
She is respected and feared.
And this is like a party, right?
This is like a party to welcome you. So it's more like a dinner party than like a huge big like ball or gala.
Oh, well, also, my lady can dress me up, I think.
Should we dress up and do our hair and makeup?
Nah, I guess it's... It's just +1 to the next elegant roll, which I feel like we don't need to spend time on that. So what, is it like a real fancy box? Oh, maybe it's like with some kind of like, yeah, like, I forget you said it, but like an emerald, like, because emerald's supposed to be astronomically expensive, right? But maybe it's just like a little accent or something.
Maybe we each put 1 gift inside a fancy box.
Well,
Does somebody want to make a read a situation roll? I know we've been doing this a lot.
I feel like you're hinting that there's something we need to find out.
I suck at sagacious.
I'll give it a shot. So 10.
10. All right. So, and some of this stuff you guys a lot of this is almost the equivalent of, go ahead. Is there a question on there that you want to ask?
You mean 3? Because I got a 10?
Yeah. All gift-related questions.
What gift is the most threatening to me?
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, these are not great. Okay. Well, what's the best way in?
All right. So, again, I'm going to answer that gift-related.
Yep.
You know that, like, looking at who you'd be giving this to, you know that, like, you guys can put together, like, a big chunk of money, but that's not going to mean all that much. Like, you're giving this to a person who is theoretically very wealthy and very influential, and so, like, the actual, like, amount spent on it isn't particularly important. But based on this, she is someone who seems to take pride in the city, and so if you were to have something that was connected to the city, you could spend money probably on craftsmanship and that kind of thing to get stuff done quickly to get to her tonight.
Oh, maybe we hire calligraphers, I guess, to make like a real sweet map for her.
This
That
one,
map of the
right? Here.
That could work.
Quick, you've got 6 hours.
Draw. Because any time to look at the city, you just got to draw.
So I think with that much money, you essentially can, if you're willing to put in that much cash for this, you're able to get something like that kind of ready for the evening. And yeah, so it could be like I don't know if this is completely on point theme wise, but you know those
robots.
The hackers get into the mainframe. Do you know those medieval paintings most medieval paintings where perspective is not important, where it's like the thing that's important is biggest, like that kind of deal. Like, so Mary always looks like a linebacker. It's like, oh, she's very important. Look how big she is.
So this governor's mansion is just like big and.
Well, I just imagine like the city of Ryoko Owari maybe is larger, and then it's painted in a way where it shows like the rest of Rokugan, and it shows it much more kind of like centralized as like a thing that's like it's centered in the city and like more important. So like kind of flattering, but like not
Totally.
not insulting or not crazy.
I literally brought nothing. I was just like showed up in probably the wrong house. So I have a shot right now. I chose right. So I mean, woo.
Well, everyone brought a gift. You can have my belt buckle.
So,
Hey, Austin. What should I be on the lookout for?
what should be on the lookout for? You're going to be walking into a room of your clansmen. At least one or two of them who are likely to be there are known for being extremely competent. And given that they're your clansmen rather than some other clan, if anybody could sniff out a secret, it might be them.
I don't see why that could be a problem.
So, that should be something you should possibly be on the lookout for.
What enemy is the biggest threat?
The biggest threat to you is how I'm taking this question.
Sure.
If that's what you mean. Unfortunately, is your... This sounds lame. Your lack of a firm footing in the city. Like, you don't know... Like, the unknowing, essentially, right now. Like, everybody... Things seem like they could be going pretty well, but you're in a place where... Right now, you're your own worst enemy, because first impressions are going to be a big...
It's like ignorance?
Yeah, but also first impressions are going to be a big thing. So particularly for you, if you can make a good first impression on the people you meet, that could really help out. I know that's not the world's most exciting answer.
Okay, it's fine. So I get a +1 to it.
All right.
Make it as ambiguous as you want.
So you guys have commissioned this painting.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll have my poem written around the edges as trim.
Sure. All right. So
Well, also poetry's my love.
poetry is your love.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think there's like a small scene then while we're commissioning this painting where I'm like kind of adamantly insisting that this poem get included, and that if I roll poorly, maybe I'm going to lose face. My compatriots and these artisans will realize like a little over the top.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Okay. Sure. Let's go with it. Let's do it. Knock it out.
So you said roll plus love?
Yes.
What is love?
That's a great question.
Starts at
Baby, don't hurt me.
0.
Oh, so it's just how many boxes I've checked?
Yeah,
so
and
far?
when you get an extra one, it gets.
And I guess I want to roll low on this then.
Yes.
How's a 9?
9 is pretty high.
It's pretty bad.
So,
I'm trying to find this.
all right. So that's the.
It's not those.
So, on a 7 to 9. Ooh, you choose one. So I don't choose one. You choose one on this list.
Love. Well, there are a lot of choices. I think this has to be the first one, which is that my emotional reaction, which in this case I think would be just how passionate I am about getting this poem emblazoned on the map. It gives away my love to someone of the MC's choice. So, one of the artisans or one of the Emerald Magistrate.
Okay. I feel as a crane, maybe that would make it would somewhat make sense. Like you encounter a lot of artwork and you encounter a lot of artisans, and the way he's like focused on this is you could tell like he cares very much about poetry. Like you guys plan out this painting. It's got to have a poem also in the painting. Or there's got to be a poem with the painting. And so the poem aspect gets brought up enough times where it's like, oh, this dude is very much concerned with that.
Maybe Taiyo is just like, oh, maybe poetry's not the best for this. Let's let the artisans make the decision. Just oblivious to it. You're like, oh, but shut up.
Oh, but my poem.
Yeah, but so he insists that in addition to the actual painting, that the artisan kind of calligraphy that as part of the painting itself.
And you probably notice that Aji notices that this poem is from this like book that I keep, and you maybe thought it was like some important notes or like history, but now it's just like this book of poem that I write in. So you know my secret poetry.
My poetry secret.
Poetry shame.
And here's the poem I found from Michizane Sugawara.
Oh, jeez.
I bring no prayers on colored silk to deck thy shrine today, but take instead these maple leaves that grow at Tamuki. Finer than silk are they.
Nailed it.
Good poem.
And in this poem, I don't know what Tamuki is, but in this setting...
Oh, the Tamuki suit from Mario Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh!
It's an area just outside town. And I'm like, hey, look, there's some nice leaves outside the city. So it's related to the governor.
Okay. All right.
So I don't mark anything. I just...
Right.
Okay, good.
So Aji now has an idea of like how interested you are in poetry.
My character flaw.
We hop back to Ishii at the Ide mansion, or the Ide residence. And you rolled really well on that last roll. If you want, you can have remembered that a gift is an important thing. You don't have to.
I'll go with yes.
That you did remember it?
Because it seems like a pretty big thing to be like to forget.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gifts, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so you could bring a lackluster gift if you want to like kind of like stick with that aspect of like but you could also
It's not going to be anything like crazy nice. Maybe like it's just like a fairly nice sword that I like bought on the way there.
Oh, if
Like,
you spend
not like really nice.
if you spend your 2 wealth, you get 1 favor from the recipient.
Just like the blacksmith had in his shop. It's pretty. It's nice. It's not like
You gonna spend a half a wealth on it?
shitty. No, it's a wealth.
Okay, so I don't think you'd get them a sword because that would there's like all kinds of like weird social things with that. Where it'd be almost in the same way that you wouldn't try to be like, oh, we can outfit your soldiers with all this stuff. It might be almost the same kind of deal, but you could get something like that, some kind of like martial.
What would you like? What would be like similar to that? And like a Martin, like
Nunchucks.
Yeah,
Silver
nunchucks.
scabbard.
A saddle.
Oh, a saddle.
Saddle could work. Yeah, saddle could work. A really pretty nice saddle. Not like I didn't like have this like custom made. The person had it and
back
it
in
was
the saddle on
pretty
DVDs.
nice.
Mm-hmm. You get to this place, and to a large extent, you're brought in. And a lot of the same social customs that you've seen at other places in Rokugan are observed. Nothing's crazy, nothing's weird, except the architecture of this building and the decoration of this building. As you're brought in, again, this is this large. The image that they have is very Agrabah in the source material. It's kind of like a large, almost tower.
Okay.
It's not super tall. It's maybe like 3 stories tall. Most of these buildings are not past 2 stories.
Yeah.
I thought it was the city of stories.
This thing.
It is, yeah. So it's maybe like 3 stories tall, but it's kind of like a wide central tower, and then there are kind of wings off to the side, as you can see, and kind of like a garden and other stuff in the
City of
interior.
Angels.
So, starring Nicolas Cage. We see you kind of being brought through, and like a servant, kind of like bringing you through like you would normally happen any other way. The interior of this place, though, is really, really decked out in a lot of like foreign rugs. The ceilings, rather than where you can see beams and whatnot, are almost like there's like fabric that's kind of draped up at the top. There are. It's just as lit as other places. The material it's made out of is a little bit different, so there have to be like some more lanterns and that kind of thing. I don't know how familiar your character is, or like how like religious your character is, where he'd be like around a lot of incense. But I feel like some of the incense that you can smell is like exotic smelling to you. So like the whole place kind of has this very exotic tone with all these rugs, tapestries. There are some like vases and that kind of thing. But the place is very, very nice. It's very big. It's very foreign. So it's definitely, the outside is mirrored by the inside. But the way you're being treated is actually very kind of standard fare for what a Rokugani samurai would expect upon being brought in to meet with someone. And you're kind of brought into, to get this out of the way. When you go to meet with somebody, almost always, like a servant will take your weapons, and the idea is usually the reasoning is, or the given reason is like, we'll go. They'll often say something like, they're going to make sure that they're polished or whatever. But it's just the standard thing of like, let's not have everybody hanging out with razor blades, like 4-foot razor blades hanging around with them. So,
do they take both swords?
I think if you have them, if you have like a weapon like hidden or something like that, that's not the case. They're not frisking you down in any capacity. But like,
you kept your tiny one.
I don't think you do. Like the way it's been presented so far is like that's not usually the case. So it's the polite thing is that this is being like tended to and taken care of. Really, it's just so that not everybody is hanging around and partying with razor blades. There's almost like kind of a great hall, and you're kind of brought in there, and you see Edie Baronato. He's an older man. He's maybe in his
that is his
Yep,
picture.
that's him. 40. So I think he's a little bit older than that. I think he might be in his. I think he might be in his late 40s or early 50s. He has kind of long hair that's definitely graying a good amount, and he has kind of like a longer mustache. He's dressed in very, very nice robes. The Unicorn Clan color is like purple and white, or purple and gray sometimes. I know. Oh my God, it's all coming together. And he's kind of dressed in that. His robes are very, very nice, but without being like outlandish. They're much more kind of in the Rokugani style of how like fancy robes are supposed to be. To a certain degree, when you come into this room, the people sitting around the table, welcoming you to the table, are the most familiar thing in the people in the table are all very familiar in regard to how they appear. Mm-hmm. The rest of the house that you've walked through is like
Crazy.
Like, this is foreign. This is different. We're not from around here. But then you come here, and you're kind of greeted by him. So there's possibly some other people, but the two people that are definitely in there, who are definitely there, are Ide Baranadu and Ide Asamitsu, his son. And I can tell, like, even though those two painting pictures do not have them look anything alike, I can tell, you can tell these guys are related. Like, it's easy to spot that these dudes are related. And Ide Baranadu is like, he gives you a warm welcome, not only to the city, but to his home. And he's so pleased that you could come to like meet with him at his residence. And he says, "Please, there's some sake if you like." And he basically offers up kind of like a toast to you, and he's like a toast to you, Ishi-san. He might even use like the honorific, at least like at first. And so like Ishi-sama, to you, to the Emperor's justice here in Ryoko Owari. He asks like, how have you found the city? So he'll go through a lot of like niceties and that kind of stuff. So he does want to know how you found the city. Like, I will say that this guy seems very genuine as you speak with him. Like, so how have you found the city thus far?
It's been a very interesting experience and very different from my home, but it's a beautiful city.
And he's like, and he basically says, I'm sure your compatriots are indisposed, but in some capacity I can appreciate that, as if this city is unlike your home, you can imagine how I felt when I came here.
Oh, of course.
Basically like if you feel out of place, look at this place. You think we feel like we kind of fit into this like a glove?
Yeah.
But he says, perhaps that's what the fortunes or what the gods have kind of brought you here, and I can appreciate your candor. Do you give him this gift?
Yes, I will present him with the saddle.
Okay. I think that you present him with this. In Rokugan, there's this custom about gifts.
Okay.
And where gifts are refused, like multiple times,
Jesus.
And usually the giver has to then come up with like, oh, here, I want you to have this, and the receiver of the gift has to be like, oh, I don't deserve this, it's far too nice, and then you're like, really, I insist, I picked it personally for you, blah blah blah. Oh, I can't, surely, I'm sure someone else wants it. So he goes through that whole thing with you. Soon enough, he thanks you for it. He says, "I can very much appreciate that you have an eye for not just finery, but as a man who comes from a clan who've made so much of their livelihood and connected so much of themselves to their steeds, whether." Like merchant horses, or the horses of magistrates bringing the Emperor's justice, or our swift cavalry. I can appreciate that you got not just something fancy and frivolous, but something very kind of like a good saddle. So this isn't just like something that just is very
closet.
Yeah, kind of pour you some sake or go through that. Oh, and he there isn't a cup set out for you at first, and is
You
like,
brought your own cup, right?
and he says, I'm so sorry. Like, Asamitsu, can you hand me this? And he's like, oh, certainly, Father. And he hands over just a cup to you. And he says, an old custom is exactly the word I was looking for. An old city custom is the idea of bringing your own cup. And supposedly it had been from the city's long history as a place where a lot of potters and craftspeople worked. And so it had become a custom for different craftsmen and their samurai patrons to show off their wares. I suspect there may have been some more dubious reasonings for it, but perhaps even I sometimes get caught up in this city's
Majestic lore.
yeah. And he says, but speaking of the city, of course,
Storied past.
yeah, its storied past. I wonder how a magistrate such as yourself, a man of the law, sees this city.
It is a city that has a long and storied past, and it is, as evidenced by the magistrate before me, it is in need of good lawmen who can carry out the law here and help keep order.
Yeah, and he kind of looks down for a moment and he says, the late Naratokai-sama was well respected here in the city, and he'll be missed. But his death, I believe, speaks to some more of this city's long, storied past, which unfortunately is too many tales of crime and corruption. Given the taxes that are paid, not only to the emperor, but to the city as well, it's a shame that there's still so much crime that we see on a day-to-day basis here.
Yes, of course, but this is, of course, why I've come here, because me and my compatriots are here to do a job to help clear out some of the crime, and to do it with the blessing and the help of those who lead the city. And you are one of those men, one of those people.
Mm-hmm. Greatly appreciate your praise, I guess he says something like that. And I appreciate your commitment to maintaining law and order here. There may be some of those who are willing to accept a certain amount of crime or a certain amount of corruption, and again, it's a shame. I'm very glad to see that, especially given Naratokai's murder, that the Emerald Champion has seen it wise to bring in multiple magistrates, particularly one who can perhaps cut through some of the corruption of the city.
Well, I don't know what to say to that, to be honest. But it's openly corrupt. I hope so. I share the sentiment, I suppose. But I really don't. Do you know this doesn't seem like I feel like I should almost roll. Because half of my character is like, alright, let's start talking about this murder. Do you know anything about this? Like, what would go on in the city to have this person murdered? But I feel like I need to roll elegance to be like, is this really the place for that kind of conversation to go on?
Huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Like read the situation kind of thing?
You could read a situation or read him. You could read the situation to try to figure out what's going on in the room. What's the vibe of the room?
Yeah, what's the vibe of the room? Is this the time and place for this, or do I need to speak to him alone? Oh my god!
Well, you nailed it.
Well,
you can figure out whatever you want.
None of these questions really work for this.
But what is it that you want to know? And I can try to.
Is the vibe of this room perfect for asking about the death and murder of somebody that has recently died? And if there's 20
What's my
people,
best way in to a discussion about
there you go.
Narutokai's death? You know that the unicorn often are magistrates. The unicorn have a reputation for being very, very honest people.
Cool.
The unicorn have a reputation of being honest that almost in some ways is their foreign manners are just to say things. Which makes them viewed as rude by many people. A concern about what's going on with magistrates wouldn't be considered a bad thing among most unicorn. They tend to have... The unicorn disproportionately, I would say, are represented among emerald magistrates.
Okay.
They're not the largest clan. There's a larger amount than you would think, especially given the, aren't they foreigners? And they've only been back in the country for 200 years. Should we let these people in? More of them are in there than you would expect.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, yeah, this is a good time and place for this then. Okay, yeah, sure.
Any of these other ones?
I don't really think so.
Remember to remember that. Because then you get +1. Which is a thing I always forget.
What should I be on the lookout for here in terms of big players besides him?
You know the stuff with Shinjo Yoshifusa, the old man, and that that Ide Baronado is the effective head of the Unicorn clan in the city, but not the titular head of the Unicorn clan.
Really.
So if there is some kind of legal matter that requires the Unicorn Hatamoto to do something, this dude can't do it technically. So, but otherwise seems to be running the clan's affairs in the city.
All right.
He can tell you. He says again, it was a shame to hear of his passing. He was universally respected within the city. I will say that his deputies were not.
Really?
Yes.
And were they corrupt, or were they just...
I do not wish to speak ill of the dead.
Of course not. Forgive me.
So I will reference one of his deputies still living. One of his former deputies still living. The Ronin Ample.
Like AMPLE?
AMPLE. Ample. That's a lot of this. The Ronin Ample was one of Narutokai's deputies, though I use that term somewhat liberally or generously. He and True Word were his two primary deputies. Well, True Word passed away in when Narutokai-sama was murdered. He'll say that was killed when Narutokai was murdered. Ample was a man that, while I don't believe would have the wherewithal to assassinate his employer, his master, I think he would say employer because he was a hired Ronin. So this guy wouldn't be his master in the master samurai sense. His employer, he ran in crowds. He was connected with crowds who might attempt such a cowardly act. the previous Narutokai's predecessor, Matsu Shigeko, had run into him previously, working as a debt collector, essentially, for peasant gamblers and ruffians. Narutokai, universally respected, was doing a good job in the city.
Deputies, not so much.
The deputies were not the best.
Alright.
Not the best in town.
So they could just return to pleasantries and
Okay.
talk on the highway and just hang out and stuff.
Sure.
Natalie.
All of the maniacs that she associates with, the 10,000 maniacs that Natalie Merchant associates with.
Just as the butterfly flaps its tail, so shall my wisdom be as opaque as the snail.
As opaque as a snail.
Sorry, I veered from wisdom into Dr. Seuss.
If it rhymes, it must be true.
Johnny Cochran's every case was based on that.
The horns of the unicorn clan.
The horns of the dual horn of the tunicorn.
With the bicorn?
The bicorns.
There you go.
I was going to say, because the tunicorn is a narwhal.
Mm-hmm. It is, yes.
Oh, that was good.
Oh, man.
You're a monster.
Yeah. All right. And the chicken of the three is an entirely different beast. So,
We can get our statue made. Nice bust. Or a full figure statue.
you're getting real horny about this statue.
Yeah.
In this society, at least.
You're a poem file.
He's a poem file.
Fucking love poems.
Oh, my God, these poems make me E.E. come.
God.
Oh,
That was so bad.
All right. Nice.
You bring a horse just as a way to deliver the saddle?
and then I take the saddle off the horse, and the horse runs away, and I'm like, here you go.
I don't know who that was.
Yeah, that was just, who knows?
that's my wife.
I thought the horse would be a nice way to spruce up the gift. If it's just like a wild thing that you like, I want to give him this saddle, so I guess I have to catch a wild horse to ride in on.
Yeah. I'm going to take the saddle off the horse, and the horse will just be like, all right, I'm gone.
Somebody brought up how freaked out a tribe of centaurs that first met humans riding horses would be when someone got off the horse. Like, oh my god! Oh my god! Oh! He just pulled his own body off. I thought he was just very weird looking. Oh god! And the other part ran away. He slapped his own meaty thigh, and his own body ran away.
So you walked through the museum, but you made it to the food court.
Yes, exactly. And now you are here, and you're at the TCBY.
The country's best yogurt.
Yeah, this...
I didn't know they still had these.
Just take it. I don't want to have to walk around with this heavy saddle.
Yeah, I'm wearing it. A small child tried to ride me.
The issue.
But it was a baby Huey-esque character. He was actually not very small. It was the youngest Gorg. So,
No sequins on it.
yeah, the sequins are minimal but tasteful.
I like the rhinestones in the shape of a crab.
Yeah. I like that.
Bryce bought the saddle and didn't personalize it all. It's just what the guy had.
I bought this at Claire's.
City of Lies is Tone as Kakita Aji, Brandon as Hida Ishii, David as Bayushi Taiyo, Andrew as Agasha Yugure, and Austin as your game master. The theme music for City of Lies is Mission of Danger by Lobo Loco. This American Dice Ryoko Owari City of Lies uses the City of Lies box set by Greg Stolz, published by Alderac Entertainment Group. The mechanics used is a modified PBTA system by Brendan Taylor of Galileo Games. Join us next time for more This American Dice.